By the time I finished, night had already fallen, and moonlight peeked through a sliver of an open window. I remembered what Shimada told me about how many murders there'd been at night lately, and I stuck to busy streets as I made my way back to the Kama Inn. We're not gonna have, like, a repeat of how we met Toshi from the first game, right? I'm just getting vibes. Let me get back safe. Okay, thank goodness. Oh! Oh? Hey, beautiful boys. Just as I arrived, Sanan and Heisuke were leaving. Their backs were turned away from me, so I called out to them to make sure they'd hear me. Sanan!
Oh? You're back rather late. It's dangerous out there, you know. You shouldn't be out at night all by yourself.
I'm sorry. I meant to come back earlier, but I was so busy, and I just kind of lost track of time, and... Anyway, I've got something for you. Yeah, giving him the notes and the medicine and stuff would be a really good idea. I handed Sanan the medicine, which I'd wrapped in a small piece of paper.
What's this?
It's medicine to suppress the fury bloodlust. I went back to my house today and found instructions for how to make it. It should make the pain go away, at least for a little while. He looked down at the paper I'd handed him, then back to me. Sanan bit his lip coyly before looking into my eyes. Don't bite your lip coyly on another guy's root. That's rude.
Thank you, but no. Your gesture is certainly appreciated, but it isn't needed.
Huh? Wait, but... without it, you...
You are not one of us, so to you the bloodlust might seem odd or wrong. However, the more one tries to suppress it, the greater the pain becomes. This medicine would be a minor reprieve. Nothing more.
But...
Excuse me. I must leave for patrol. Good night.
Ah! Before I could protest, he was gone, walking briskly down the dim open street. I mean, he's right. He's been researching this a lot longer than we have, and he's absolutely right, based on what we've learned from Soji's route last time. Without the medicine, what would Sanan do when the bloodlust came? Well, use your 2 brain cells to figure it out, Chizuru. To not only acknowledge but accept this insatiable craving as a part of one's life seemed beyond me. Oh no! I remembered what Kimigiku had said to us back at the Fushimi Magistrate's office. A central area in which all of Fushimi's thousands of shrines are connected. It is here that the protagonist and her father are initially reunited. Okay, spoiler alert. Then are you aware that the Shinsengumi's furies have been murdering people on the street to test their strength? No. It couldn't be. It was the Shinsengumi's job to protect Kyoto and its citizens. Surely Sanan wouldn't attack people on the street just to satisfy his thirst for blood. Hey, Chizuru, I'll take that. Can I have it? Oh, yes, of course. I handed him the packet Sanan had so recently refused. He stuffed it into his pocket as he stared off down the street at Sanan's rapidly retreating back. I'm going to go on patrol with him. If he does something weird, I'll stop him. So don't worry, alright? Alright. I'm counting on you, Heisuke. Oh, right. Where's Hijikata? Is he back yet? Yeah, he came back earlier in the evening, but he locked himself in his room. Not a peep from him since. Oh. I'm gonna go check on him then. If he's locked himself in his room, it's probably for a good reason. Heisuke and I said our quick goodbyes, and I made my way into the Kama Inn and up to Hijikata's room. I think it's time for us to give blood, although I don't know how she's going to come up with that idea herself, because she didn't run into her brother this time. I was hoping that the wave of anxiety I was feeling was a needless one, but I had a very bad feeling about something as I called out to him from behind the sliding door. Hijikata, are you there? I've got something for you. Nothing. I was about to turn away, assuming he was asleep when... Aw, he wasn't able to stifle it long enough. Poor boy. God! The suppressed voice was clearly in pain. Hijikata! I'm coming in! Wow, this is a beautiful room. I slid the door open and ran into the room. He was bent over on top of his desk at the back of the room. Sweat poured down his face, and I could hear his teeth squeak horribly as he gritted them. Oh. He looked... Hijikata! Are you okay? I rushed over by his side. Aw, our poor boy. You idiot. Just shut up. But... This'll pass. Any time now. Don't get all worked up over nothing. Just leave it. He wrapped his arms around his shoulders and squeezed until his knuckles turned white as he glared up at me. His breath came in pants and he shivered violently. It was Hijikata's personality to refuse to show any pain, or even any emotion at all, or at least to show as little as possible. For him to be like this... The pain must have been unimaginable. Was this the bloodlust that Heisuke had spoken of? What was I supposed to do? If he drank the medicine my father had created, then the pain would likely go away, but Sanan had said it would only be a temporary solution. Then... Oh, okay, she just, like, did X plus Y equals Z. Should I give him some of my blood? Would Hijikata even want me to give him my blood? What was I going to do? Well, we all know if you want to get that low corruption, you gotta give him blood. So, here we go. There was no time to waste. It wasn't the best plan, perhaps, but I couldn't bear to see him in pain any longer. And besides, at long last, that would finally be useful. No, Chizuru, you're more than just a blood bank, please. Don't go down this path. Hijikata shook fiercely, and I could only gaze in horror as I imagined how unbearable the pain was. I said nothing and drew the Kadachi I kept at my waist. Yeah, we're just gonna murder you right now? Just let it happen. Hey, what the hell is this? I slid my finger along the edge of the blade, which I barely felt. A bead of thick blood formed over the cut. Please, drink my blood. It'll make you feel better, right? What the hell? I can't do that! His clothes were drenched in sweat, and he shook like a leaf being swept by the wind. This was it. I couldn't back down. This was my chance to do something for him, to make a difference. But perhaps most importantly, I just couldn't watch him suffer anymore. Don't worry about me. Please. I begged him desperately as I offered him my fingers oozing out with blood. It's gonna heal soon. Though he tried to resist, his eyes were drawn to my finger, to the thick red blood that slowly beaded and dropped. He balled his fist tightly, but he couldn't resist. You're an idiot. A girl shouldn't cut herself up. No man's gonna want to marry a girl covered in scars. Well, why are you thinking about marrying me when I'm offering you some blood to suck off my finger? Don't make this weirder than it already is, Hijikata. Besides, you know I heal up really quickly. I don't have scars. Then he licked the blood from my finger. I felt the soft caress of his tongue as it ran the length of the cut. Then the soft pressure of his teeth and lips as he sucked gently, drawing a few more drops out and into his mouth. Sheesh. Getting warm in here already. I'll be fine. I'm a demon. I heal really fast. Doesn't matter. Demon or not, you're still a girl. His breathing had already begun to calm itself, though through his hand on my wrist I could feel his shaking subsiding as well. At last, I thought I was able to be useful. Chizuru, stop. A few moments later, his hand slipped from my wrist. The cut on my finger had already healed. The split in the flesh began to seal before my eyes, and I stood quietly as Hijikata winced. I'm sorry for being so, forward. I bowed to him. No. He took a quiet breath and shook his head. A sense of calm seemed to emerge from him. This isn't the time to be pretending that I'm fine. I know that. If I want to make sure Kondo wins, then I don't have a choice. I have to become a monster. Absently, I touched my fingers to the wrist Hijikata had taken when he drank my blood. A peculiar feeling lingered on the surface of my skin. It was almost as though I could still feel his warmth there. End scene. Now it's February. Man, Toshi being stingy with them CGs so far, though. I think we had like 3 with Soji by now. Oh, fine. It's a slow burn for a reason. Even the CGs are slow. Even after the events of that night, Hijikata pushed himself just as hard as before. He visited the shogunate officials whenever he could find the time. Eventually, his work began to pay off, and they were given one of the Hatamoto mansions to use as their headquarters. From an inn to a mansion. The Shinsengumi headquarters in Edo was located beyond the Kajibashi Gate, in the mansion of former Executive Lieutenant Minister Tanetatsu Akizuki, I think. Tanetatsu Akizuki, I think. Ahem. Between his demanding schedule and Fury-related difficulties, I knew he had to be in miserable condition, but he was determined to give Kondo his war. This alone seemed to sustain him and drive him forward. Perhaps the gods took pity on him. I'm so sad. I mean, we're gonna see Kondo again, I assume, before he gets, he surrenders himself and is executed. But for all this work, like, how is Toshi going to feel? We're gonna see Toshi's side of things this time. He cared about Kondo just as much as Soji did, I'd argue. There he is! Oh, this is gonna be so much sadder this time around. I'm glad we get to see you again, though.
My apologies for worrying you. Welcome back, Chief Kondo.
We just couldn't wait for this day to come, sir.
Aw, please, you flatter me. But in all seriousness, thank you. I am truly appreciative that I am able to join all of you again. I'm sure you're all wondering what's next. First, we'll head to Kofu. We've been ordered to ambush the Imperial Army. The Shogunate's given us 2 cannons, a number of small arms, and funding. We must have done a meritorious deed.
The term referring to the type of government which had been used by Japan for much of its history, wherein power is centralized around an overarching military and its head. Kondo was promoted to Executive Lieutenant Minister and Hijikata to Vice Minister prior to their mission. Well, congratulations! A position in the shogunate government that was involved in supervising samurai below the rank of daimyo, as well as other vassals of the shogun. And what's a vice minister? Nope, too far. There we go. An executive position within a feudal holding considered just below a daimyo that manages the distribution of rice and salaries amongst the serfdom. Alright, more work for Toshi. It was a momentous honor, although some of the other men were hesitant to find cause for celebration.
Hey, Kondo. Who came up with the idea of having us guard Kofu? It was Awanakami Katsu. Why? Is that a problem?
President of the Tokugawa shogunate and the president of the military affairs later, he is given the responsibility to represent Yoshinobu and the Tokugawa clan. He is in support of the allegiance.
I've heard a lot of rumors about this Katsu guy. He's famous for being a pacifist. Why would somebody like that give us cannons and money to go to war? Besides, I've heard that the shogun is perfectly willing to just go along with whatever the Imperial Army wants. You don't think Katsu feels the same way?
Kondo frowned. He crossed his arms, bent his chest, and spoke up.
Nagakura, Harada. These are direct orders from the shogunate. It's true that the shogun isn't publicly defying the Imperial Army, but his situation isn't exactly ideal. However, if we can protect Kofu Castle, then perhaps he'll think that the shogunate actually has a chance to win this war, putting his full resources behind it. This isn't just a matter of winning or losing. The men in charge are saying that we are a force skilled and dedicated enough to defend Kofu.
A reverential title reserved for the leader of the country of Japan. In this context, it refers to the Tokugawa shogun prior to the restoration of imperial rule. Okami instead of men in charge.
Isn't our duty as warriors, then, to give all we can to this fight? Don't you agree, Nagakura? You're really gonna try and gloss over it like that? I'm a captain of the Shinsengumi, but I'm not your retainer.
Kondo looked upset, but Harada spoke up before he could say anything.
Hey, Saito, what's your take on all this?
The bean! Welcome back.
I will do whatever is commanded of me.
All eyes turned to Hijikata, who was observing the amicable commotion before him quietly. Is it amicable?
Well, we should round up some more men if we're gonna go to war with the Imperial Army. If we do well at Kofu Castle, I'm sure the Shogunate will send us some reinforcements. As far as Iwanakami goes, doesn't matter how much he hates war, I'm sure he knows that sometimes you can't avoid it. I mean, if the Shogunate loses, then he and all the rest of the vassals are out of a job. I don't think they'd want us to lose. Yeah, I guess you got a point.
When Hijikata put it that way, it seemed like Nagakura had nothing more to oppose.
Shall we head for the mountain near Kofu first and prepare for night raids?
Fury Corps isn't going this time. You're staying here.
Why?
If the Shogun does send us reinforcements, I can't afford to let them see you. Besides, there are going to be a lot more men at Kofu. You'll get spotted, and then what's the point of having a secret division?
But...
Hey, the war's just started. We shouldn't be in such a rush, Sanan. I saw Hijikata and Heisuke exchange a quick look. Ahem. They must have realized how Sanan would react and talked it over beforehand. I mean, Sanan hates being left behind under the best of circumstances. That's why he took the Water of Life in the first place. To me, at least, there seemed to be silent agreement.
Alright then. Everyone, return to your rooms. We have some time before we leave, so make sure you get your affairs in order.
Although it'll kind of burn, though, if I'm allowed to go and Sanan's not. Eek. That was that. The captains left for their stations, seeking to brief their subordinates and prepare for battle. Only Hijikata remained behind to begin sifting through the massive stacks of papers and maps. I timidly approached him. Hijikata, are you sure it'll be okay?
What will be okay?
This war. It's going to be difficult, isn't it? Wouldn't it have been better to take the Fury Corps along?
Oh, that.
He set down the map he'd been studying.
Remember when that Princess Sen, or whatever her name was, warned us about the Furies killing people?
Yes.
Well, I think it might have been Sanan.
What?
The Fury Corps is our ace in the hole, but I can't have them murdering people in the streets to satisfy their bloodlust. During Toba Fushimi, they used silver bullets on the Fury Corps, which made them essentially useless. Until we can figure out how to counteract the silver problem, I need to have Sanan stay here. Heisuke will keep an eye on him. We also might need them to go collect arms for a counterattack.
A counterattack? Does that mean he was even planning for a possible loss at Kofu?
The next fight is going to be a big one. We probably shouldn't take you, but if I leave you here, Kazuma might decide to try and snatch you again. So I'm taking you with us, but you watch yourself and you stay out of trouble. I tell you to jump, you say how high. Got it?
Okay. I could feel a nervous knot forming in my stomach, but Hijikata had to have a far greater case of nerves than I did. Oh, he's taking me along so Kazuma doesn't come and steal me away. Thanks, Boo. I appreciate you. I must work hard not to get in anyone's way. We'll do our best. I do remember that being a big part of Hijikata's route last time, is like, always obey his orders. Always. Watch, there'll be a choice where it's like, the best option is not to obey his orders. It was morning on the day we left for Kofu. Everyone's up already. Huh? The common room was full of men dressed in clothing I'd never seen before. Are we gonna get everyone's new outfits? Hey, looking good, Shinpachi!
Oh, hey Chizuru. You're up pretty early.
Huh? Your clothes? Are you really Nagakura? What are you wearing? Oh, they got their hair! Ah, you cut it without me seeing! How dare you! Oh, you guys look so good, though.
The commander ordered us to dress in Western clothing when going into battle from now on. Our enemies will be wearing Western clothing. Seems like we'd better too if we want to win.
Really? How about me? Do I get my outfit? Don't stare at his chest. Hijikata was dressed predominantly in black, and his outfit gave him an elegant look. It's the purple. It suited him well. He looked as handsome as an actor. And we come full circle. I couldn't help but admire him for a moment. Well, I'm glad you're still you, Chizuru.
Something wrong? Am I wearing it wrong?
Oh, no, definitely not.
You're strange.
I'm strange. Wait, Kondo's not wearing Western clothes.
They're just so tight. And I can't stand walking in these, I think they're called shoes?
Poor Kondo. They're like, he's gonna die anyway. We're not gonna give him a new outfit. Kondo!
I just wouldn't feel like a real warrior in those things. I guess I'm being childish about it, but that's my right. You're fine. It's not like you'll be out on the front lines. You just have to act dignified for the troops. Your presence alone is enough to inspire the men. Really? You're going to make me blush.
You are blushing.
Well, let's be off then. To Kofu Castle!
Looking good, everybody. Looking very good. Sad about the hair. And thus the Shinsengumi assumed the name Koyo Regulatory Company, and we headed for Kofu by way of Hachioji. Alright. A name bestowed by the shogunate onto the Shinsengumi prior to their mission to capture and hold Kofu Castle as a temporary means of legitimizing their organization. And Hachioji. 3? There we go. A rural region of Edo from which Kondo Hijikata had originally hailed. Kondo and Hijikata. On the way, Kondo split from the main group to visit his hometown. Nice. Oh my goodness, I wasn't prepared for Soma! Soma! I mean, you look really nice too, Harada. That suits you, but gosh, look at this proper looking bean over here with Soma. Everything is just tied perfectly. It's great.
Where is Kondo? I don't see him around. Oh, the chief still seems not to have caught up to the main troop. Kondo still hasn't caught up yet. How long is he gonna sit around that inn getting drunk? Well, he probably hasn't been home in a while. Probably wants to show off how successful he's been. Not to mention, I'm sure he wants to visit his wife and daughter. He hasn't seen them in a long time.
Shinpachi's like, wah.
Show off, huh? We're marching to war. You really think this is the time for that shit? Supposedly, there are a few people who are interested in joining in Hachioji. He also has to assess them too. What better way to get to know new soldiers than by sharing a drink with them, Well, yeah, you got a point, but...
Shin's just ready to throw shade on everybody. Oh, Shin. It's gonna be, interesting doing your route leader. Hijikata's eyes narrowed and Nagakura looked unsatisfied as Hijikata muttered to himself.
If we gathered enough recruits before we left, then Kondo wouldn't be out there right now.
Hijikata's words cut like a knife. The Shinsengumi had made a name for themselves in Kyoto, true, but the shogunate was faced with a numerically superior force. We no longer had the luxury of interviewing potential recruits and taking the best ones. Now we had to offer money and alcohol to attract them. Hijikata would have rather cut off his own arm than stoop that low, but he had no choice.
Commander, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? It seems that the enemy has already conquered Kofu Castle.
What? We've got an urgent update on the situation. Go get the chief, now!
Yes, sir!
How the plot thickens. It was some time before Kondo received the message and returned to the main body of soldiers. That was long enough for news of the castle's fall to spread among the ranks, and many panicked. Nearly 300 of the men we left Edo with deserted, reducing our forces to a mere 100 soldiers. Great. Nagakura and Harada seemed more cautious, and they both advised retreat. But Kondo decided that we would form up for battle and fight until the bitter end. Now that we had accepted weapons and money from the shogunate, he said that there could be no retreat.
I'll call in our reinforcements from Edo. One thing is for sure. We cannot afford to lose this one. Make that damn clear to the reinforcements who'll be arriving soon. We can't afford to have any more deserters. As you wish.
Saito nodded, then turned and jogged off toward the rest of the soldiers. After giving his directions to the last of his men, Hijikata finally turned to look at me.
Go back to Edo with someone. This place will turn into a battlefield soon enough, and you should go somewhere where you'll be safe.
I decided to, I don't know what go with it, like, is go with them go with Toshi to battle, or go with them, like, go back to Edo? Or vice versa. I don't... But I should be near Toshi? He appreciates when she's like, I'm gonna stick with you, like her loyalty to the Shinsengumi always, so maybe stay behind. I don't know. My heart says stay behind. I'll stay here. I can't run away to somewhere safe while everyone else is off fighting. Yeah, that's the key. That's the key thought that has been a thing before, so... I'll stay here to protect Kondo until you get back. Hijikata frowned.
How? You can't swing a sword to save your life, and I don't think you've got the stones to kill a man. You're not a soldier.
Hey, I killed a guy with Soji. I got the stones. That was what I expected him to say, but I wasn't going to back down so easily. It's true that I'm not much good with a sword, but I can still be his shield. Any small wounds I sustain will heal quickly enough.
Why are you doing this? No one asked you to.
Well, I know I'm probably out of line when I say this, but I also know that we can't lose Kondo. Not now. I'm sick and tired of always being protected. I want to help. Please. I'd been with them long enough to know how much Kondo meant to Hijikata and all of the Shinsengumi. If I went back to Edo and Kondo died, just thinking about that, no. I refuse to be the only person to escape unscathed this time. Hijikata chewed his lip thoughtfully for a moment, and his hard, piercing gaze never seemed to drift away from my face. Hijikata refused to break his concentration, and after a long moment he sighed.
Oh. If you're really that serious about this, then I've got an order for you. As a member of the Shinsengumi.
What? My eyebrow shot up.
You're going to guard Kondo personally. Stay by his side and give him anything he asks for. And...
yes, sir! Without even thinking, I straightened up and began to nod vigorously. I, Chizuru Yukimura, will protect my chief, even if it means my life. Before I could finish, Hijikata cut me off with a sharp expression. But he liked it.
There's one condition. You can't die.
What? That wasn't the sort of thing I expected to hear from a man like Hijikata. Be careful, maybe, but not you can't die. Watch me.
And don't do anything stupid, like being his shield or whatever bullshit you were saying. I am not ordering you to die.
He gave me one last pointed look, and then turned to look towards Kofu Castle bitterly in the distance.
If our enemy this time turns out to be a bunch of amateurs who are just hoping to kiss some ass with the Imperial Army, we might have a chance. If it turns out that they're more like the Satsuma or the Choshu, though, then we're screwed. I'll try and get back as fast as I can, but if something happens before I do, I'm counting on you and Saito to make sure Kondo gets away clean. And none of this shield crap. You escape with him. Die, and I'll make sure you regret it. Understood?
How are you gonna make sure I regret it once I'm dead, you stupid tsundere? I appreciate it, though. I felt a cold sweat break out on my back as Hijikata's words sunk in. I had seen others fight for their lives in battle many times, but this was the first time I'd personally joined in battle. Would I really be able to protect Kondo? Would it even be possible to evade our enemies, let Kondo escape, and survive? Perhaps Hijikata noticed my sudden fear because he gave a short, bitter laugh.
Hey, take out your sword.
Huh? I fumbled with it for a moment, surprised at the strangeness of his request, and finally pulled my sword from its scabbard. Then... a picture. Hijikata pulled out his own sword in a smooth motion. I still have my old clothes on! Then he took his Izumi no Kami Kanasada and tapped its blade against my own. Woof. A legendary blade wielded by the Toshizo Hijikata, forged by an 11th generation member of the Kanasada family. The clear tone they made drew goosebumps from my arms. Were you always this tall? Dang, boy. Did I shrink?
That's called Kincho. It's what samurai do when they swear an oath.
The act of bumping the mouth of two sword sheaths symbolically taken as a vow between two warriors. Aww. Oh, really? Interesting.
Well, I guess technically neither one of us is actually a samurai, so we're just going through the motions, I suppose.
Why?
Proof. I'll come back. And you'll survive, too. That's the oath we just made. So you trust me, and you wait. And don't die.
His words were confident, and listening to him I felt as if they'd somehow made me stronger, more capable. As someone who dreamt of being a true samurai, that oath meant a great deal to him. I had to follow through. There could be no breaking this promise. I understand. I will protect Kondo, and I will survive. Until Hijikata returns, I must protect Kondo until the end. He had given me a chance to show that I was useful, and he trusted me with an important task. Then, I would complete that task no matter what. We need to protect Kondo. We must survive.